Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. It is day 2 of the Shanghai Cooperation Summit, and world leaders have arrived at Samarkand in Uzbekistan for the meet. Now, the second day of the summit will see all heads of state of the member nations gather for the main meet, which means the leaders of Russia, China, India, Pakistan, and the 4 Central Asian nations will be under one roof. The leaders of the 8-nation Shanghai Cooperation Summit are all set to discuss regional security challenges and energy supplies. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Samarkand on Thursday. He will be holding key bilaterals with the Iranian, Uzbek, and Russian leaders. Now, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to exchange his views on topical regional and the international issues during his meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Indian Prime Minister will discuss issues of strategic ability, the situation in the Asia-Pacific, and bilateral cooperation within the United Nations and G20. However, there is still no clarity on whether the Indian Prime Minister will hold any bilateral with the Chinese president. Meanwhile, day 1 of the summit saw a number of crucial key bilaterals taking place, starting with the bilateral between Chinese president and his Russian counterpart. During the meet, the Russian president had condemned attempts by the West to create a unipolar world. The Russian president also backed China over Taiwan, asserting on how Moscow firmly adheres to the one China policy. Putin, however, also conceded that Beijing had questions and concerns over the invasion, which is in its 7th month. Now, China has so far refused to outrightly condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It's not imposed any sanctions on Moscow, but has stepped up economic assistance to its neighbor, boosting bilateral trade to record levels in a boon to Russian business amid Western sanctions. Meanwhile, the Chinese president told his Russian counterpart that Beijing was willing to work with Moscow as great powers.
面对世界之变、时代之变、历史之变，中方愿同俄方一道努力，体现大国担当，发挥引领作用，为变乱交织的世界注入稳定性和正能量。
Now, for more on this, we are being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibbal, and our Pakistan Bureau Chief, Anas Malik from Samarkand. Hello to you both. Siddhant, I will start with you. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Samarkand for 24 hours. Now, he will be meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. What's on the agenda when the two leaders meet, and what are some of the other key bilaterals and engagements for the Indian Prime Minister?
Well, yes, Alison, the summit has started. In fact, I'm standing just in front of the Congress Hall where the leaders are present right now, the SCO leaders, and holding the summit. In fact, I can ask my camera person Ajit to show you the Congress Hall where the summit is underway. This is the place where the leaders of the 8 SCO countries, member countries, are present inside and holding conversations. The restricted talks, we saw the family photo just a few minutes ago, in fact just 15 minutes ago, where the leaders of India, China, Russia and Pakistan along with Central Asian countries were present. We saw the opening statement by the Uzbek president also, who talked about counter-terrorism and the need for grouping to come together to deal with global and regional challenges. But of course, whatever happens here today in Samarkand impacts the world, and the West of course closely watching the developments. The Samarkand document, the joint statement, is something that will be closely watched and read as well. We know that this is a grouping which is seen as an anti-West grouping, but largely for Russia and China, this is a grouping that provides a dimension to the new world order, a new dimension which is, of course, not dominated by the West. So whatever happens in that building behind me is something that defines the global world order.
Right, and Nas, the Pakistan Prime Minister recently called his own country a beggar state. What are your thoughts? Was the dire condition of Pakistan's economy a focal point of his bilateral meetings?
Well, the focus of the bilateral meetings of the Pakistani Prime Minister has been to engage economically and make it much more sustainable. In fact, that is the reason that we saw that very key meeting a short while back between President Xi and the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and that meeting was slated to last for about 30 minutes. It ended up at about roughly 40, about 39 minutes it lasted. And the main areas of cooperation is particularly to do with the economic side. The economic cooperation that was discussed because you remember China has been Pakistan's all-weather strategic allies, they have been said, and they've got multifaceted areas of cooperation, but particularly in the backdrop of the recent floods that Pakistan has been facing, and the initial estimates, they say that that's about $10 billion that have been lost. The damages have been there. Pakistan is definitely looking towards the international community and none other than China itself, because given that it is a robust economy, as they say, it is something that has been time tested and something that Pakistan has been reliant on. Therefore, the economic aspect of these engagements is something that is vital, that is very important, and that has been the focus alongside regional connectivity, trade, and of course engagement at large. Alison?
Right, Anaz, thank you. And thank you to you both for joining us on this broadcast with all the latest updates coming out of that SCO Summit.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.